Sometimes it can feel so scary to do something different because if you've ever had to be the breadwinner or be in a survival place, if you've grown up in chaos or violence like I did, it is very scary to want more for yourself, let alone let people see who you are. From nightly binge drinking and 3 arrests to author, speaker, successful entrepreneur, wife, and mom of 3, Kelsea Koenreich brings a new level of power into the room to help women step into their power and reach the potential that was meant for them. She helps high-achieving women make more money without losing their minds by spotting the gaps that drain profit and drain their energy, and using emotional intelligence to align, optimize, and scale their businesses. Her approach accelerates growth, strengthens leadership, and creates a business that fuels their life instead of running it. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I am so excited to talk to someone today who actually has been through so many things. And as I really enjoy talking about what people have gone through, because when you're in it, if someone is listening that's really going through it right now, and you hear that someone has not only been through it, they've had things happen to them over and over again, and then they come out on the other side and have such resilience and light and love afterwards, in my opinion, that's the most inspiring thing that you could hear. So I am so happy to introduce you all to Kelsea Koenreich today. Hi, Kelsea.
Hi, Erin. Thank you for having me.
So great having you. So I'd love if you could go ahead and just start telling people a little bit about your story, where you came from, how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, it's pretty funny because I am somebody that you probably would not guess where I came from, judging by like where I am now. So I always like the shock factor of talking about where I am now first. So I am a mom of 3, currently living in Florida, originally from Texas, and I am a business strategist for mom entrepreneurs specifically. And so I work with women who are scaling to and past 7 figures and really help them with their internal alignment, as well as aligning their businesses to get their time back, their freedom back, and making sure that they are functioning most effectively as leaders. And it's really cool to be in this position. And I have a lot of gratitude for it every day because I grew up in a lot of chaos, a lack of stability. My parents divorced when I was 2. I was back and forth. I had 2 drastically different parents in different households and experienced so many different things. And so I spent the majority of my younger years craving safety, stability, belonging. And I found that belonging in drugs and alcohol, of course, because that's where a lot of people find it. And so it did 2 things for me. It gave me a place to belong, but it also numbed my pain. So I didn't have to look at it or feel it or deal with it. So I spent about 10 years in self-destructive patterns that were amplified by also working in the hospitality industry, which it's so normalized there, right? Yeah. And honestly, I will say, I think everybody should work in the hospitality industry because one of my primary drivers and what I teach so many of my clients is about amplifying customer service, because I think it is the most important thing. And I think I learned a lot of that in hospitality. But that being said, it was normal to be snorting cocaine in the dumpster between taking tables. It was not seen as, I wasn't doing anything else that other people weren't doing. And that led me to being arrested 3 times. My 3rd arrest was my rock bottom and the moment I am most thankful for in my life, because it was the moment that I took accountability. It was the moment where I met my eyes in the rusty jailhouse mirror and realized in the medical unit of that cell that I was in, that I was surrounded by people who were going through withdrawals, 2 people that were in there for murder. And I just woke up and I realized that day, I was like, you are making the choices that continue to put you here. That means you can also make different choices to get yourself out of this. And so that was the hardest moment, was also the moment that I took everything back. And so from there, it was, I have to rebuild my life, because if I continued on this path, I'm obviously going to end up continuing to come back here, or honestly, I probably would not be alive today. And so that was where everything restarted. That was where I started asking for help. That was where I knew that I had to make those different choices. And it wasn't until a couple of years later, when I had really committed to my mental well-being, my physical well-being, that I would realize you went through that, all of that, for a purpose, to help others, to really learn how to make yourself whole again and fulfilled again, and find what that means, and to help other people do the same. And so it's been quite a journey.
Wow. There is definitely a stigma with people that have been arrested. And it's interesting because I have people in my family, in my life, that have been to prison, and they have done, honestly, the most amazing things, have become the most amazing parent. And it's so easy to judge someone when you're not in that position. And I also think there were so many steps from when you decided drugs and alcohol are my comfort. I was also in the service industry for 15 years. My husband and I met there at a restaurant. It was so common for people to be the best, have the absolute best customer service, but then be so broken inside that doing drugs was like a normal part of the day. It was not anything that was different. But for people that become addicted, then all of a sudden you become someone that's like a piranha there, right? It's different. Like you're supposed to be able to do these things, but don't get addicted. Don't get addicted. That's not a part of it. But when you do, I have a question in that, did you ever feel like once that happened where it felt like you needed to be in that, did you feel like alone? Did you feel like you didn't really have anyone that would keep you safe or come rescue you or be there when you were in this?
I think that that's the reason it's interesting, because it feeds into that, because you're lonely and you hate yourself. And so then you make these choices that reflect that, both with drugs, with alcohol, with how I treated my body and my relationships. I was very sexually active. And I think making those choices, it was like, it's the shame cycle, right? You feel terrible. So you make a terrible choice, and then you feel terrible about the choice. So then you numb, and then you feel terrible. And it's just this, and we see it even in women or in people in general, even in food choices they're making, even in the guilt that, oh, I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow. But then they wake up and you're like, oh, I don't feel like going to the gym. And then they feel guilty about it. And then you feel guilty. So then you eat like shit. And it's this like hidden shame spiral. And I think one of the most impactful choices that I ever made was when I started on the Instagram platform in 2012, like literally like sepia pictures of my dog, legit.
Sepia was the best though.
Frames, borders, all the cool things. And I remember when I started in the online space, because I started in the online space in 2012 as a coach, when like that was not like everybody wasn't a coach at that point. And I remember being at my first few, maybe up till the first year, I was like, this is so cool because I get to pretend that part of me didn't exist. And I felt this like disconnect because I internally knew like that was my power. The fact that I could tell that story and say I came out on the other side and you can too, no matter what your hardship was. And I was missing that element. And so I made a choice that I was like, okay, like Brene Brown says, the only way that like shame can die is if we bring it to light. And so when you said there's such a stigma around that, there is. And so I made a choice of people are going to judge me regardless.
Yeah.
And so I have a choice of either not being honest about who I am and what I've been through, or being honest and giving people the opportunity to see and love me for me, which I never had before.
And you can't really feel loved for who you are until you accept that and then show people who you are. And I think that is why I'm drawn to you, because you are immediately like, this is my story, and not in a defensive way, in a very accepting way, a very neutral way. This is what I went through. And because of that, I can help you go through even more and get through that. It's not you're not even judging yourself, and you're not defending yourself from other people's judgment. You're allowing whatever comes. And that is a beautiful, confident thing to be, to allow what anyone thinks and know that that's their own lens, and to love yourself so much that you're going to let the world see you for exactly who you are. 'Cause that's when you make a real impact. It's not when you show bits and pieces. It's really easy to show that. And it's very difficult to allow the judgment to come and still be peaceful with who you are inside. I think that's why clients are drawn to you. That's why I am.
Yeah, I really appreciate that reflection. It's something I think that I logically know, but it's easy to forget, especially as I've continued to grow. And it's interesting to be like in certain spaces when I'm sitting at these tables with these well-educated multimillionaires, billionaires, and I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to count ourselves out. And what's interesting is I had this moment with a client, and there was always a part of me that was like, okay, I'm going to make a promise to myself to always lead with my story, like you said, because if I don't, then I will feel out of integrity. I will feel like I'm hiding something, and that doesn't feel right. And as somebody who is coaching people on a high level, both strategically and internally with who they are, I was like, well, maybe it's not professional. Maybe it's not, maybe I need to tone it down. And obviously listening on podcasts, you can't tell this, but like I'm very heavily tattooed. Like I'm not exactly like somebody that would just like in a crowd of people that you wouldn't be like, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like, but we can choose to be accepting of ourselves and lead with that. And I think in me doing that, it's given other people permission to do the same. So my client said to me, I was vulnerable in a moment with her. And I said, I was afraid because most of my clients are like very well educated. They're making millions, multi-millions. It's like all these things that we put on pedestals, right? And I had shared with her, I was like, I was a little fearful of what the interaction would be like. And she shared with me that she chose me because she knew I would never judge her. And
Wow.
I was just like bawling because I'm like, the way that we think as women, we're like, oh my gosh, what are they going to think of me? So we're performative. And then when we're performative, we're hiding parts of ourselves, and those same parts are the things that people connect with us on.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't expect you to say that. Honestly, I've never thought about that. You know, when you get to a certain level, you are judged a little bit more, and you are expected to be a certain way. So to have someone that you know is not going to judge you, you can finally relax. And most women can't actually relax. 80% of autoimmune diseases are women. Women die every day from heart attacks that are chronic stress induced. So imagine having someone lead you that is not going to judge you. And I know this, even with my coaches that I have now, and I have very, very expensive coaches, I have to battle worrying that I'm going to be judged. I know I'm not, like logically, but deep inside is like still that voice that's don't be who you are, you're going to be judged. And I think that is so powerful. And something that I have heard a lot from being in rooms now with millionaires and billionaires, and it feeling very normal now. Before it felt normal, I felt so not in the right place. Even though I have multi-million-dollar businesses, I didn't feel like I was in the right room. And then all of a sudden, one person, we were all talking in this one situation, and one girl said, that's why I admire you so much. And I just want to learn so much from you, because you've been and started from rock bottom, and you've had to crawl your way out. You didn't have help. So if I would take any advice from anyone, it would be from you. And that opened my eyes, because people want to learn from someone who's been to the bottom and come back up again. And you've done that.
It's so true. It's so true. And I think that in a world where like we really want instant gratification in everything that we do, to be able to have a safe space is now not the norm. And that's one of the things that I've committed to, because as a child, I didn't have safety. And so again, like I mentioned earlier, I went seeking that safety, belonging, like somebody loved me is what it came down to. And so when I started coaching, I didn't know that I was doing it at the time, but I think it's kind of natural, right? It's the same thing with parenting. Like you either repeat your parents' patterns or you're like, that was fucked up, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. And so I think in the instance of this, I just really prioritize creating and cultivating safe spaces, whether that's at my like retreats or in the individual conversations, to where we have to prioritize having a different type of conversation if we want the transformation that's actually going. Everybody wants the shiny stuff that's on top. We want to make more money. We want to make more money. We want to grow our businesses. We want to impact more people. We want the results. We want the outcome. But where people are missing the mark is that they're unwilling to look at the thoughts, the behaviors, the patterns that are internal, that are actually stopping them from being the people who they need to be able to have that outcome.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, we have to change the conversation, and we have to be able to, as coaches and leaders, we have to be able to cultivate those spaces. And if we don't know how to, it's a skill we have to build.
Yeah. How many times have you had someone come to you that has done these things, built these great businesses, and they were so miserable that they almost just wanted to give all of it up because they were hiding who they were. They'd never prioritized themselves. They'd been in survival mode for their entire lives, and nothing they built, no dollar they made them happy?
All of them. If I'm being honest, I think that point, and when which people reach that point of awareness is when they actually seek me out, because they recognize I have to do something differently. The majority of people that come to me have worked with other coaches before, have been in programs. They're smart, they're brilliant, they've built something that is functioning well. And it's one of those instances, like you said, it's like maybe from the outside everything appears as like you're killing it, and then you have people reinforcing that. Oh my gosh, you're doing so amazing, you're getting all these achievements. And then they're the same people that wake up in the morning and have the hardest time getting out of bed because they're like, I just don't want to. This is so heavy. Why do I have to keep carrying this? They're often the breadwinners in their family. So there's they're moms. So they're having to juggle back and forth. They have mom guilt because they have so many meetings. They can't be with their kids. And so it's just this chronic stress, like you were saying, that's creating a multitude of issues. And it's heartbreaking, to be honest with you. And that's why I always try to say, it's fixable. I promise that it's fixable. And I promise that your well-being and your success can live in the same room. They really, really can. And it's really just about being like, I love that like you're so forthcoming with like courageousness and bravery, because that's what everything comes down to. It's about overcoming fear. Yeah.
And sometimes it can feel so scary to do something different, because if you've ever had to be the breadwinner or be in a survival place, if you've grown up in chaos or violence like I did, it is very scary to want more for yourself, let alone let people see who you are. So for you, what are a couple of things that are non-negotiables that you do to prioritize your health and happiness and still be able to be the most amazing mom, have a wonderful marriage, and still have a great business?
Yeah. So I think it's the elusive balance that everybody is seeking. And I always tell people, I'm like, balance is never 50-50. So don't try to make that the expectation. But I think first and foremost, we need to get really, really clear on defining our version of success. Because we're going to repeat patterns, behaviors, habits that are learned from our lived experience. So whatever we saw in our caregivers and our parents and the people before us, society, like we will take those snapshots, internalize them, and then try to recreate, because that's what we know. So until we disrupt that pattern by actually sitting down pen to paper and saying, what does success mean to me? Right? That was such a powerful, one of the most simple activities that I have every client do, that was the most powerful, because it's about adjusting your belief system. Because everything that we do, it's belief, thought, action. And so we have to learn to change what we believe. And we can do that by we have to find out what we want our new belief to be. So my belief from what I saw was all about the external. It was about how you appeared to other people. It was the things that you have, the materials. And then when I sat down and put pen to paper, I was like, whoa, success to me is actually a feeling. Success to me is waking up in the morning and being grateful and being able to feel fully alive in my life. Success to me is going through my days and feeling healthy in my body, feeling connected in my relationships. This is a completely fucking different thing that I thought I was chasing. Yeah. And so it gives you like, we have to redefine what is our North Star. Are we just doing things because we think it's what we should do? Are we doing things because that's what was taught to us? A lot of my clients feel pressure from parents on like academia and things like that. And so I think it's really just like being willing to step back and say, wait, what do I want? What does this look like to me? Let's redefine this word success. What is this that we are creating? Because then from there, that's where you actually build your non-negotiables. So for me, my physical health and my mental health is literally number one. I'm moving every day. I'm meditating every day. I'm journaling every day. I'm reading every day. These are pieces of, if I'm not whole, if I'm not okay, nothing else is going to be okay. Yeah. And so I have to have that piece. And then my personal relationships. Like, I think that sometimes as business owners, because we get so caught up in the excitement that we feel that is growth and doing really fucking cool things and making an impact and making a bunch of money, we forget that, hey, you committed your life to this person and they didn't want to be your roommate.
Yeah.
Like, how unfair to expect that they should just stick around when you're never there. And when you are, you're emotionally unavailable.
Wow.
And when did a measurement of success become we're making so much money that we have nothing to give anybody else? Mm-hmm. And so I think those are my non-negotiables, is what is happening offline. What is happening right here in my home has to be okay. What is happening internally inside me. And then everything else, that's what I wish people would understand. If you give yourself the opportunity, I understand it's so scary to take your foot off the gas. You're afraid the business will fall apart. You're afraid that you'll lose money. And one of my favorite things is the breakthroughs that my clients experience when they see it's the opposite. When they find because they feel whole, because they feel happy in their bodies, then their brains are actually, their cognitive function improves. And so creativity is turned back on, that then can create additional revenue streams. Like, it's all connected.
Yeah. One thing that I know is every time that I travel, and I don't even mean travel for fun, I mean travel in general in any way, something good happens for my business. Like, it just does. And I think it's because, one, traveling is my absolute favorite thing to do. I don't even care where I go. I genuinely love meeting new people and learning from new people and exploring new places. And I see that as an opportunity. So in my head, when I go do things genuinely just because I'm curious and I love it and I'm having fun and being creative, somehow something good happens. So wouldn't that mean if we prioritize even just one thing a day that truly is just for us, like we're unlocking deep within us some sort of creativity tether, some sort of abundance tether, no matter what anyone believes, if we call what's out there, God, the universe, any word you want to describe, there's something that happens when we say we are worth loving our life and loving ourselves so much that we will prioritize one thing that makes us happy.
Yes. And everything that you're saying, what's really amazing is we are in the day and age of everything that was like woo-woo and weird is now being scientifically proven. So we're seeing the neuroplasticity and the ability to form neural pathways, and the fact that, oh my gosh, we can change our brains, actually how they look. And I think that's the coolest thing, is now these practices that people are like, I don't really need that, are like the thing we need. And so it's like seeing those neurons fire and seeing the repetition of that, to where we're getting the endorphins, we're getting the dopamine, we're getting that coating of the goodness, but we're still, we can know that, we can logically know things, but then it's about, you got to do the thing you're scared of.
Yeah. And with you, there's so much gift in this too. When you have that knowing, that shame of not only going through like maybe having a not safe place that you've lived as a child and then going to prison and you made that decision. What were your like first bravery steps? Because those first steps were all pure courage, all pure bravery. Like you had no example, you had no blueprint, you had no one to come save you. So what did you do? How did you do that?
Yeah. I mean, it was 2010, so there was no chat GPT to save me at that time. I asked for help. I,
Mhm.
it was about letting go, I think, and you can probably relate to this. I was adultified from a young age. So I
Yeah.
was an adult as a child. And what that created, which I see this so often in entrepreneurship, right? This is why it's, it's kind of fucked up because we're so rewarded for our hyper independence and for our resourcefulness. And it's the same things that keep us stuck in our stubbornness and our inability to ask for help, which is the one thing that we need. And so I came home from jail. I'm sitting on my bed. I'm crying. And I'm crying because of the weight of everything, because it was my second DUI and I'd also gotten a felony drug charge. And so I was like, oh, wow, I'm going to go to jail. Like, I'm going back. And the weight of that hit me. And then it was just like this moment of who can help me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that in that moment, and I called a friend who was sober. He connected me with another woman who was in this program. So we have this really cool program in Florida. I don't know if they have it everywhere, but it's called Drug Court. And it's essentially a second chance program, which is really cool because we also have teen court. So I've been able to go back to teen court and mentor some of the children there. But I self-selected into that program before my court date. So I went into my court date and I was sober. I had been to therapy. I had been to life coaching. I had been to the gym. I was checked into this program. I was getting random drug tests. And so that was the only reason that I didn't go back to jail. But it was that moment of who can help me. And I've kept that with me at any point where I feel stuck, rock bottom, different rock bottom moments. Who do I need? Who do I need? Because it's like when we try to live in a silo in a society like that again puts that on a pedestal. Like one of the terms that I actually hate is self-made. Because no, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually not, because somebody made a phone call for you.
Mm-hmm.
Something happened, right?
Yeah.
And this is speaking from somebody who technically would be self-made. I've never had investors.
Right.
Everything's grassroots. But like hella people helped me,
Mm-hmm.
said my name, referrals, you know what I mean? And so I think that moment really stuck with me because I'm like, oh man, I wouldn't be able to have gotten to the next step had I not picked up the phone.
Mm-hmm. I think though, you being able to say that is just an awareness that you're not entitled to that say self-made, like you're not entitled to that because you recognize you wouldn't have been able to do that with all the help you got. That is such a beautiful awareness. I will say though, you still were self-motivated. You still were the one having to do all of the work. You were you were self-healing immediately. You were taking on all the blame and asking for help and doing all of the work. And I think you were self-propelling, like you pushed and asked. And so many people can't ask for help because it's really, really embarrassing and shameful. And so that is a huge step to be able to do that and to recognize you even need help. And people helped you because they saw how willing you were to do the hard things. People don't want to help someone who's not willing to do the hard thing. I'm sure that you in your businesses have maybe many times, at least this is how I feel. I see the potential in everyone that I come across.
Yes.
I see how incredible they could be. And it doesn't mean they are not still incredible as humans. Like I see all of the potential and oh my God, they could build this, they could do this brand, they could become an influencer for good. And I mean that in a good term.
Mm-hmm.
They could become even greater than me. But if they don't want it, it's really hard to be okay with not overextending yourself to help too much when someone doesn't want it themselves. Have you seen that in your business?
Yeah, I mean, I think I spent the majority of probably my first, like, honestly, at least 5 to 7 years doing that. And I realized I was dragging people. And I realized that what was happening is that the reason why I was able to be self-motivated is because I took personal responsibility.
Yeah.
And that's everything that I believe. If there's one thing that we can do, and there's one skill that we can cultivate, it's taking personal responsibility, because you literally can't change until you realize that, like, you're driving the bus.
Yeah.
And it's the victim mindset that I lived in for 10 years. Why is this happening to me? Why is things always like this? And that's why even with clients, I had a client the other day and she was like, oh, it never ends. And I was like, let's actually backtrack on that language. Is that true? Is it true that it never ends? Or are we perpetuating a cycle by using our verbiage to then ingrain that pathway in our brain and then fulfill that belief?
Yeah.
And so I think personal responsibility is the area that, like, if you can grasp that, not to the point, because there's difference in personal responsibility and self-judgment.
Yeah.
I'm always fucking up. And that criticism, because really it's personal responsibility and then compassion. It's, I did this and I was wrong. And this is something we have to, like, when I'm working with clients and, like, their communications with team, right? Because those are some of the hardest conversations, when you have to tell a team member that, like, they're not doing well. And so anytime one of my clients comes with me to something about team performance, and I'm like, have you given them clarity? Do they have an SOP? Have you told them what your expectations are? Are your standards written for them to be able to view? Because that's personal responsibility. And it's not like, you don't take that down the path of, I'm a terrible leader, I shouldn't have done that. That's not helpful. But what we do is we take ownership and we're like, oh, I could have done those things, and that's my solution.
Yeah.
And so I think the longer we stay in this, like, why is this happening to me? Even with entrepreneurship, about normalizing that we're so fucking tired.
Yeah.
This sports psychologist at an event that I was just at was talking about how in our highest performers in sports, the people who are really making change, the people who are at the top of their game, those people they prioritize their recovery just as much as they prioritize their play. And it's, So we are a society that is chronically overfunctioning, overexhausted, overworking, and then we're normalizing that as part of entrepreneurship.
Wow. This has been interesting. I always think this kind of stuff happens when it's like, oh, this is actually going to make a big difference.
Yeah.
What would you say to women who, I'm assuming that because you're parentified, you might be like me in this, that you might have taken people's lessons from them, or had the desire or thought that you needed to be the hero or the savior. Have you ever felt like that as you have?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course.
Yeah. So have I. And I've realized that has been a huge weakness for me, and that it's actually building upon my own codependencies, that I need to be the savior. And so I've attracted so many people who have such great potential around me in my life, but then the same things are happening. I need to look inside at me and say, what is that within me that's seeking people that need me to do everything for them? Because that is a pattern.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And it's exactly what you said. It's codependency, because it comes from that desire to be loved, right? And we don't want people to leave us. And especially if you also throw some abandonment in there, right? To where it's,
Yes.
my mom was not present. And so obviously that's a huge part of, like, why I do what I do now. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, that shows up, and and to be honest with you, it's something that it's such an easy thing to fall into, because I think, as I assume that you're like this as well, like I feel energy very easily. I'm, like, very, like, empathetic. And so One of the coolest things that I ever learned was, and parenting taught me this, is that when you're trying to help other people fix their feelings, it's actually not for them. It's your discomfort with being able to witness those feelings. And I was like,
Yep.
well, fuck.
Yes. And it fucking sucks hearing that too, because you're like, wait, this is all about me. This is actually all me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn it. I really wanted to help them, but I wanted to help them so I didn't have to feel bad.
Exactly. We're responsible for being honest and truthful and being accountable, but we're not responsible or accountable for how people feel. We're not like, people have to have their own lives and journeys. And it is very freeing though, once you realize what's yours is yours and what someone else's is theirs. And if someone is ready to do the work, you're going to be there to help them. But if they're not, you can't make them.
Yeah. And being able to be brave enough to be honest and say that to people, because there's situations with my clients where I have to reflect back to them. If we're going to get real change, like one of my core values is I call you out to call you up. And that's my commitment to being honest with you. Yeah. And if I see you, even the client that I mentioned about the verbiage, I'm not going to overlook that, because it would have been easy in that moment. And still to this day, we have that first kind of knee-jerk reaction of just, oh, I'm sorry you're having a hard time. And it's, you can say that, but also let's make a different choice. Let's choose our language differently. Let's choose. So I have to reflect back a lot of, hey, I am seeing this pattern like month over month of like, when cash flow starts to feel tight, then you go into scarcity mode, and then you go into doer mode, and then you're spending 5 more hours at your desk because your mind is telling you that's the thing that you need to do to increase your revenue. And if we don't disrupt that pattern, we will just continue it. But we have to be brave enough to say those things.
Yeah, you're so right. And for you, when you've done so many things, how have you been able to get through fear at each little moment? What do you do to see the fear and then move past it and do it anyway?
That's such a good question. So I love to use fitness analogies. So fun fact, I actually started as a fitness coach in the online space. That's where I began my journey as a coach, which is why health is, again, one of my core principles in all of this. And it's the carryover. I was a competitive athlete as an adult, right? So I never played sports as a kid. I actually am very uncoordinated. Catch me on the pickleball court, not hitting a single ball. But I decided that I was going to be, I was a competitive power lifter. I actually was able to compete on the national level. I was obsessed with being strong as a woman. And this was quite disruptive back in 2013 because I was a hybrid athlete. So I also competed in bodybuilding. I was a drug tested figure pro as well. And so this fitness background created a mental fortitude of discipline to where when I'm afraid, I understand and have this knowing that I can be afraid, but in order to accomplish the thing that I want or to get to the other side, the only way out is through. And so I learned, I think, from embracing the pain that is deadlifting almost 400 pounds, that you have to move. The more time we spend in thought, the more time we spend spiraling, the more time we spend questioning, self-doubt, ruminating, all of those things, you're just wasting your time. And so I think it was really carryover for that. So anytime I feel fear now, I just witness it and I validate it. And I think that's the thing, is like, we're so good at suppression and compartmentalizing and not feeling. And we don't realize like that's the same shit that keeps us spiraling and ruminating. So for me, it's about, I'm afraid. I verbalize it, I process it, and I also really want this, and I recognize that I'm afraid because right now my brain is trying to keep me safe, and my brain only knows what it has previously experienced. So you can feel fear around things that are amazing, right? Yeah. Those things like before we go up to speak or something like that, my palms still get sweaty. And I've done it a million times. And so I think it's just in the moment of fear, it's recognizing it, it's validating it. And then it's also having the discipline enough to care about the thing that you want, to know that, okay, my brain is just trying to keep me safe. Safe in my brain is what is certain. This is uncertain because it's new. And so I need to teach my brain that this is safe.
Yep. Yeah. And you're creating a new safety loop. Every time you do something hard, you do something you were scared of, you're creating proof in your own brain and in your body that now it can go back to again and be like, oh, actually, she did this. So she can do this. Because before, if you had no proof, it's going to look for ways that it needs to protect you. So that is exactly right. I love that you use the fitness analogy actually, because I think as women, we need to move way more than we're moving, and not for looks, for sanity, for healing, for longevity. I use half marathons as my way to remind myself that I can do hard things. I grew up and used to be made fun of for the way I ran. It was very difficult for me. So I have made it a point my entire life to try to be a runner. I am a runner, but I'm not what some people would think is a runner. I am a runner for me. And it's proof every day that I can do hard things.
I
Yeah.
love your running. And like that was like, I remember when I like first followed you on Instagram and I was like, oh, I just love her. Cause I can feel, your aura has like such depth to it that I was like, oh, she's like sister from another mister for sure. Because like when you would be on your runs, and I remember just seeing a couple of videos where you were just like sharing your heart, and I'm like, fuck yeah, like this is the stuff. And running is the best high ever. Like it is.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
And it's naturally regulating our bodies. Because when we do the left and right motions of walking or running, we're literally regulating our nervous systems. We just don't know it. So I actually spend at least 2 hours a day walking, running, stretching, doing all of the physical things to regulate myself. I think that is so important. So when you talk about like non-negotiables, I agree. Moving is my non-negotiables. Otherwise, I'm not okay. Like I am not my best self. Yeah.
Same. I'm like my gym in my garage. We owned a gym and we sold it when I was pregnant with my second. So now we have the equipment we kept equipment for our garage. And like my garage gym is the reason why all three of my children still, their heads are still attached to their bodies for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
So to leave our listeners today, if you could tell one person listening, maybe this person feels too late, or she feels too broken, she feels not smart enough, not special enough, and afraid to do something that she feels very called to do. Or maybe she just wants to move forward and finally let people see who she is. What is one thing that you can tell her to do to be brave today?
Mm, I would say two things, actually. Number one is speaking it into existence. Things that live in our minds are less likely to become reality. And number two, one of the most important things, and like me talking about asking for help, is you have to find accountability. The expectation that you're just going to start doing something new because you want to. Intrinsic motivation is something that can be built, but it has to be built from something. And so I think whether it's trying to build a new habit, trying to do something different in your business, you have to have some sort of accountability, whether that's a coach, a partner, is somebody that is holding you accountable to that. Because I think that's where a lot of people get let down, is they self-sabotage by saying, I want to do this thing. And then those words, we see so many people fall off in the actual implementation and execution because they either don't have the guidance or direction, or because they don't have the courage, the bravery, they're not able to move through the fear. And usually a combination of both. Like for my clients, it's a combination of both. And so I think really it's being brave enough to ask for whatever accountability that you need, and being willing enough to let yourself be held accountable too.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And it's really important that if we can't see ourselves as the person that we want to be, then other people aren't going to be able to too. So focusing on in your inner world, believing and repeating over and over who you want to be and affirming that in your head so that your body gets used to it, so that you get used to hearing it, and then asking for help, and then having someone you can be accountable to. I mean, that is such a full circle way to move into the person that you want to be.
Mhm.
Kelsey, where can people find you, even just to get to know you, to reach out to you, or to look to you maybe for coaching?
Yeah. So the best place if you just want to talk and have a conversation is on Instagram. It's still me doing, I don't post all the posts, of course, but it is me answering comments and DMs because
Uh-huh.
I just am a one-to-one intimate kind of person. So if you ever send me a message on Instagram, if you have thoughts, if you have insights, if you have questions, I'm more than happy to chat there. And then, of course, I'm on all the other social platforms too. But as far as like just chatting and connecting, Instagram is the best place for that. And then
Mhm.
on my website, you can see I primarily work with people through an intimate level, one-to-one coaching. And then I also do VIP days. So those offerings and everything is on my website, but you can book a discovery call and we can chat there too.
I love that. And of course, everything will be added in the show notes for your Instagram and your website. And when we get to post this on Instagram, I'll link that in the comments as well. Kelsey, thank you so much for today. I mean, personally, I think when you can feel how deep someone is and how real this is for someone else, that's what makes a huge impact. And I can feel that from you. And I am just so proud to even know you. And you are incredibly brave and smart and beautiful. So, how lucky are we to get to listen to your story?
You are so kind, Erin. I'm so glad that we are connected.
Me too. Well, thanks. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day, everyone.